Mayor Absher.
Here, would you all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item number 3 on the agenda is our section for public comments and audience to visitors. I know we have 2 separate line items that we knew of. So other than if you're on A and B, hold on just for a second. Anybody else want to address the council under this section? This working? Okay, if not, TJ, you want to make your presentation?
Give your team join pamphlets again. Because if I remember right, I thought you guys were talking about doing it this year. If not, I think
you're having an Alzheimer's moment.
I think Chief Vince was talking earlier about maybe challenging.
Chief said he's going to be the
quick on that one.
he's going to be the captain of the team.
We can do
That's
that.
what I understood.
I think you'd have to get permission first. That's what I thought. Anyway, again, we're sponsoring the Special Olympics for the polar plunge again this year. This is going to be our teams, of course, with the Winston County FOP members as well. Our 17th year, we're supporting the Special Olympics for athletes with intellectual disabilities that go and compete every year in Champaign and different locations. It's a great event. This year we get to go back to Rent Lake on March 5th and jump in the water once again. We had to do our own venue last year because of COVID, but we're wanting to, of course, get the city support in trying to raise the most funds. Again, we've brought home the traveling trophy for the past 15 years, and we're working on our 16th year. So we're just looking for the city's support, again, to help this great organization.
Cody, I believe we already have this in the budget, so you've already approved this donation as part of the budget. I mean, we can make a separate.
Went ahead and put it in consent agenda as well.
Okay, so it is in the budget, that's all I'm saying. March 5th.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And if you want to sign up online, you can join the team, which is called the Copsicles, which is on the website for this. So that's what we've been calling ourselves the past several years, and it's worked out good for us.
Is there a limit to how many people are on the team?
I think in different categories, I think on our group it's from like 6 to 10, and then they can jump up to 15 on the next group.
Okay.
So the more we get, the better, the way we look at it.
Have a great event.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, Anthony and Pedro, I don't know which or both of you are making this presentation. To make kind of a short work of this.
You guys already have them, but
They contacted me and had some conversations with Cody about a proposal they wanted to give.
Thanks, sir.
I told them that our ordinance wouldn't allow this as it stood, and so they would need to come make a appeal to you guys and see what you thought. So that's where this is at. It's not any more difficult than that, so just go right ahead.
Okay. Basically, we're just looking to change the ordinance for the property on Boynton Street. It's on the back page there. There used to be a nightclub there quite a while ago. It's next to the electrical company and the Boynton Street Community Center. Our goal is to take these shipping containers and basically turn them into small storefronts, barbershops, ice cream shops, spas, just business incubators, small businesses, and build them up as we build more business there. And as you can see, they look modern. I don't know if you guys know of us, but we build more modern looking homes around town. We own Yellow Door Builders, and we're just hoping to improve the area over there. We purchased some other property in that neighborhood and kind of want to build the whole neighborhood up, so to speak. So, oh yeah, you can add a few things.
Okay. So currently, the International Building Code standards as of 2021 have adopted like formal details about the way a shipping container should be converted for a commercial storefront. So in order for us to do this, we would ask that the current ordinance, say that it needs to meet those recommendations so that we can make sure that it's not just, rusted old shipping containers if anyone else comes up with the same idea. That would be more, it looks very polished and, like he was saying, a modern touch and, brings in art and, a lot of local touches to it.
I have one comment and one question. The comment is, I like this idea, and I've seen this up in Chicago along the new riverfront area. There's a lot of this exact stuff. The question I have is, what, if any, do these things have as far as water, sewer, along that line? Granted, I know they're going to need electrical, but what about water, sewer?
Basically, they set on pillars. You can do it however. You can create a block foundation, or you could create pillars that these containers set on, and then all the plumbing, you basically frame out the inside as you would a house. Plumbing would go underneath the building.
So they're permanent in that aspect that they would tie into the city water and sewer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
How many of these are you planning on starting with?
I'd start with, we'd probably start maybe 2 or 3 of those. The first project was a barbershop. It was going to be a barbershop, a local barbershop there, and that would take 2 containers. Those containers are, 8 feet wide? 8 feet, I know, but they're 8 feet wide, 10 feet tall, 8 to 10 feet tall, and then 20 foot in length. They can go to 40 feet in length, but we've already got 2 under contract that are 20 foot long, and so we'll just put those together. So it'll be maybe 16 feet wide by, 20 feet long. So the first one would be a barber shop, and then of course we'd like to build up to maybe a small ice cream shop there, and kind of build as we go. We don't have a certain particular number at the moment, but we certainly don't want to clutter that space over there,
Forgive if this is a silly question, it may be. So you're talking about this barber shop as pictured, butting 2 of them up lengthwise. So can those 2 interior, they unbolt or something? So make one big room?
Essentially, you would just cut out a side of it,
So you have to
each
torch it
one,
out,
and butt them
basically.
together, and then torch them together. Yep.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
What is that area zoned?
I checked on it today, it's actually zone R2, so it would either need a special use permit,
Okay.
or we would need to get that rezoned for a retail
Mixed.
type establishment. And then to the code point, I did pull those standards today and started looking at them along with Tim, and they're pretty straightforward as far as safety and that sort of thing. So I think that the ordinance that was adopted about 2 years ago, essentially banning these from being used as commercial developments, that would just need to be modified. These codes intermingled with that ordinance, still outlawing them for certain uses, but as far as a commercial occupancy, as long as they were built out to these code standards, we should be good to go.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't our issue then where it was placed more than what it was? Isn't that what we're dealing with? Right.
There's no visual standards to that.
Right.
And so they're obviously suggesting that they would make them look nice. And then, where they were sitting in residential yards, I think that was what they prompted the issue to begin with.
We can make these things look just as good or better than any storefront, we have here. Creatively, we have a lot of different ideas, but I think that we could deliver, and, that spot as it sits over there right now is just a, burned down club site, and like I said, we'd like to get people over there,
So you said you were going to start with 2 or 3?
Yeah, my first plan was a barber shop, and then, of course, we were thinking a small ice cream shop or a little burger shack of some sort. We've been talking to different people around here who own food trucks that may want to, come and patron that place during the week or whatever, just to come in and start a business. We'd use it as an incubator as well. Anybody that had a great business idea that we may want to partner on, we could build out that storefront there.
So would you, ring the perimeter of this with those and have a parking lot in the middle?
Yeah, so
or what?
the parking lot would be, if you look on the back page, basically where that, the rock is and where that old, foundation for the club was, we'll get rid of that. And then we kind of build from there, that would be the parking, and then we kind of build from there back with a walkway down the center of that place.
Down here?
Yep, it'd be right in the center so that the people can walk down the middle and go to whatever storefront they wanted to go to.
And we would put like different, outdoor eating areas, hangout areas, kind of in that space, so that if you grab a burger or ice cream or whatever, you have space to kind of hang out with your family or your friends.
Landscaping, of course.
I'm looking forward to sitting right here. Okay.
Absolutely.
Right here. Yeah.
My concern with these, when we passed the original ordinance and just in general, is, because this, I don't want to speak for everybody else, these, as pictured, look fantastic. There's hard to argue with. My question always is, what do they look like 5 years from now and 10 years from now? If this doesn't work out, or they just sit there and, it is a metal container that's going to sit there and rest.
I understand, containers are they're built better than houses, Of course, there may be upkeep on the exterior and stuff like that, but, these are properties that we own ourselves. And so we'd make sure that everything was kept up and nice and tight.
I think it's a good idea, guys. My only concern is, making sure that the connections are gonna work, sewer, water connections. The exterior, there's, as well as I do, when you paint metal, there's certain specific requirements that have to be met for that metal or the paint to adhere to the metal. So in 6 months or a year and a half, it's not peeling away. So I think if all of those items were addressed, I'd be willing to listen and see where we might go with this. This one on the front has basically a sitting area up on top, which to me looks really nice, but you've got to think of, okay, what's the method of attachment of that handrail, and how sturdy is it going to be? And all of those things really have to be considered when we go there. In other words, we have to have all of our I's dotted and T's crossed.
Right, and that's exactly, while we were going to build these all to the international building
Yeah.
code standards.
Yeah.
That'd be safer than for me personally, if you guys have seen any of the stuff that we do, we care. We are passionate about, our vision, the homes that we build, we design, and we really care, and that's the neighborhood that I grew up in. I just purchased the top College Street, Holland Street, and Monroe Street to build new houses there, and I'd like to develop that whole neighborhood. But we're going to need places, we got the square to come to, but I'd like to build up our own businesses down there as well, other businesses down there as well, barbershops, like I told you, the ice cream parlors, for people in the community that live there to come and patron as well. And so it's not really a competition thing, but what I am saying is that we're really good at what we do. We're passionate, we care, every detail, from footings to finish trim. And when I tell you that the exteriors of these, it's not an issue. When I tell you that the railing around the top won't be an issue, is because we're going to do everything the right way. We don't take shortcuts. And so, if you believe in anybody developing around here, it definitely should be us, because we really do care. You can ask any of our clients that we build homes from, you can reference them, whatever you need. But we truly want to do this, and we have a desire to do it and build up our community here. So, whatever you guys need us to do, we're willing to do to make it happen.
I think this is a great idea, and as long as we implement these building standards into our ordinance, I mean, we have those same concerns that you had brought up with any building that's built in Marion.
Right.
Are people going to maintain it and keep it? But, if we have something in our ordinance that if 2 years from now it's falling apart and you're not taking care of it, but I think it's a great idea.
I think the thing is a gradual build, and so it's not something that would happen overnight anyway. It's something that we'd build a spot and we'd wait for the right business to come around to add that business. And so it's something that won't all be done at one time, so that it could just sit there and kind of decay away anyway. It would be something that we build one at a time, and then we'll build the next one. And the importance of upkeep is we're always going to be investing in that property. We don't want one building to look bad while the rest look, brand new. And so our thing is that we'll upkeep every building that we build there. On a regular basis. From landscaping to just, regular maintenance on paint. If we decide to paint these, or if we put a different type of siding on them, a different metal on them, they'll be just as nice as any other building here.
Is that what you're going to name the area?
They are, yes, sir.
I like that. That's good. Okay.
And I think what we were talking about doing initially was just kind of building up foot traffic there. A barbershop is we really don't have one here. We've got one, but we don't have one downtown, a barbershop here that people that I used to cut. Like I was a barber for 10 years, 15 years, pretty much all my life. I own a barbershop in Carbondale. I still have clientele that call me every day to get a haircut. They don't have a good spot to go to get a haircut. So we'd start with the barbershop there to get, foot traffic there. Then we may have some food trucks come out if we get everything approved by you guys, just to get foot traffic there so people know what's going on. And then we'll pop a ice cream shop there. Young kids that get out of school and they want some place to come and hang out, sit at a bench and have an ice cream cone. It's a good spot to come do that. We just want to build those things up slowly. But the exterior, I promise you guys, will look excellent.
We could regulate, is what you're talking about in an ordinance is regulating it much like you would non-owner occupied property? And just, we could have separate, provisions in there for maintaining the exterior painted surface and stuff like that. Something that a code enforcement officer would come around and everybody's favorite visit.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're comfortable with something
I'd
like
be
that?
okay with that.
Okay.
And, I think that should be the standard anyway for any business. I don't think any business should let their buildings go to looking crazy. I think that the upkeep should be standard anyway, from a pole barn building to a stick-built building to a aluminum frame built, whatever building is built in Marion. I think that should be standard anyway. People should take care of the exteriors of their buildings like they do their homes. I think that it's important for the look of the city. I'd like to look clean. I like when people come in town and they see these places, they're excited to come patron them. They're excited to come visit. They're excited. They might want to move here. I don't know. I just think that it's important for everything to look clean anyway. So I would have no issues with somebody from code coming and checking in. Hey, we got some paint that's fading here. Can we I don't mind that at all. I'm up for it.
Jim, you have any thoughts?
Well, I've seen these in industrial applications, and they've turned out pretty nice, and you got to think, these was built to go across the ocean, and they put them on a truck and haul them 70 miles an hour somewhere, so they're pretty structurally sound,
Yes, sir.
It's just the aesthetics of them and doing them right according to code, so I think it's a good idea.
Okay, thank you.
So are you guys all, we can't make a decision on it tonight, we're just discussing it, but do you want Wendy, Cody, Tim, and me to work on a revision then to that existing container ordinance to allow such a thing? Is that where we're at?
Yeah, we'd have to.
I'd be in favor of that.
Okay, and then, Cody, what'd you say, the two options, it's R2, so we could do a special use permit, which they've got,
We could just get it rezoned.
both of which have to go through the zoning board. Okay.
And this wouldn't open the floodgates for everybody in town to buy one and stick in their backyard then, correct?
No, because we're talking a commercial application, you have to get a building permit, you have to go through that whole process.
Well, that's actually a question. Do you want the ordinance to specifically
Yeah.
read so that the council as a whole has to approve any one of these applications? I mean, that could get, we can always change that later down the line, but if you want to highly regulate it, we could do it that way. Or whatever your pleasure is.
I hate to go down that slope of
Well, I
one
do
offering
too.
each one, you know?
So
We try to stay away from that.
I would think as long as it's a commercial application in a commercial area, and we have the
That-
criteria set up of what the building has
That's
to
the
be,
key.
then we should be good.
Yeah.
I just don't want to see these popping up in everybody's backyard as an outhouse or an outbuilding, you know,
Yeah.
unregulated.
Well, I think making sure it's in a commercial
Commercial, yeah.
will get rid of a lot of your issue of somebody wanting to
I've
put
seen these
their
in
little
different areas
home-based
that had
business in the
burger
backyard.
stands, and, I mean, it was kind of a neat little area that they had.
If you go down the riverfront in Chicago, you're gonna see
Oh, I
30
know.
30 of
Yeah.
these,
And all kinds
right
of
down the
things.
river, yeah. And
Good
some,
idea.
honestly, some of them there need to be reworked a little bit.
I think the key
A
is
lot of them are good, but
where
there's some
we're
that have
going
been
to
there a
allow
while.
them at.
Well, let's talk about that for a
Yeah.
second. So, I mean, we could either,
I mean, because I can see some neighborhood going, let's put an ice cream shop in our neighborhood. Let's put it down here at the end of the street.
well, honestly, to me, I think it ought to be rezoned commercial and only allowed in a commercial. This R2 ends up getting real dicey as to what can and can't, and I mean,
It cannot be retail in R2.
what?
There cannot be a retail application.
Without a special use permit. This is a commercial application. I think it ought to be a commercial zone. You can apply to have that piece of, you already own this piece of property?
Yes.
And that's another question. Are there two parcels of property here, John? But you
Yeah,
own both?
They're two, yeah, we own
One's kind of inside of the other?
Mhm.
Is there a restriction then, Cody, if this gets rezoned commercial only, that no one could build a home there, ever? In that same area?
You have to rezone it again.
Rezone it.
Or is there not a zoning that's mixed use?
R2.
Yeah, R2 is mixed use. R2 is professional office.
Okay, but R2 doesn't allow straight commercial.
Retail. Doesn't
No,
allow,
it doesn't allow retail.
Retail, okay,
Retail.
okay.
I mean, what was there before was a nightclub was
Yeah.
there before. I mean, there's an electric company next to it. I just thought it was weird that it was zoned residential.
there's no homes right on that side of the street right there. I mean, to me, that's a commercial,
One east, on east
There's a little further down, yeah.
corner where you turn
Oh,
down
that's
the
right.
street department.
There was a Joe's barbecue place. There was actually, that's what the original was. It was Marshall land, and he built his barbecue place, and once that went down, it turned into a club. That's
Do you
the
remember
original
when-
history of it.
do you remember
It was
when-
Marshall's house.
when Joe's was there? I mean, when it ceased being there, do you recall, like approximately what year?
Yeah, it was in the
Was it?
2000s, because originally that's where the family lived. That was Marshall family property, that was their house. When the older people died, then the younger set, well, they're older, but they were old, but they created a barbecue place. That's what it was. And then once that went down, then it became a club, per se. And then somebody else bought that out. I'm just giving you
Yeah,
a
it was
little
the
history.
plumber.
Somebody bought that, and then it came to
Gooch.
do drop in, and one more chance, one more time or something.
Mhm.
And then there, which was
Yeah.
terrible to me, because you're right across from the housing project. But he is right, it's always been, it's been there for a long time, a commercial
Yeah, I was just trying to think, our zoning
use.
ordinance went to you in '87, I think. And I was just wondering if it was prior to that, and it was just sort of the Wild West, or how this would have been
It started off
zoned.
as a legit barbecue restaurant.
When the club got there, it turned into a Wild West,
Yeah,
though, right?
because it didn't have to be across from a housing project.
I think, you know,
Yeah.
Well, my personal opinion is we ought to just allow it in C1.
Yeah.
Cody, what's, off the top of your head, what's our delineation between C1 and C2, the main difference?
C2 is more general use commercial. I would think that would be applicable to this.
So would we say C1 or C2 then? Or should we take a look at where we're zoned and take a look at that?
Yeah, we could, C2 makes the most sense.
Well, for whatever it's worth, if we're gonna go down this road, because I don't know, like I said, I still have concerns of what this stuff looks like downstream. Yours is, and I know you guys will do a great job, I don't have any question with that. I'm just thinking if you sell it to somebody, there's no guarantee that they necessarily do a great job, so I would suggest that we work on it, allow it in C1 or C2, and at least for the time being, until we get a better feel for this, so that we don't have floodgates open on something, that we allow it by council approval only. Is that possible in the ordinance to skip the zoning board process and do it that way? Or is-
This wouldn't be a zoning board issue on a building permit.
Special permit, if you rezone it, then at that point, it's no longer a zoning board issue,
But on a building permit, that would just go through building and code office.
unless you wanted it to go through council.
That's what I'm saying. Can we state by ordinance, it would be different than the way we're doing anything else. Right now, it goes to the zoning board, we have to affirm or deny zoning board decision. Not a building permit, okay.
You're talking about rezoning it.
It doesn't have to go.
You're
to
talking about
council.
special use permit has to do that.
Yeah, if you rezone it, then that takes it out of the zoning board's meeting completely.
But what I'm saying is can we, in the ordinance, just say, even if it's allowed in C1 or C2, given full council approval? In other words, on a project-by-project basis, it's allowed in C1 or C2, but they would still have to come, it's a little bit different, sort of a different kind of special use permit that would basically skip the zoning board at that point. Which I guess we could go through the zoning board, it just seems like a bunch of work for twice the amount of people if the council needs to approve it, I don't know. We'll take a look at that and see what we can work.
I got a couple questions that just kind of pops into my mind. You said typical size of one of these is 8 by 20?
Yeah, it goes,
Somewhere
you
around
can, I mean, there's 20 foot, there's 10 foot, there's 20 foot, and there's 40 foot,
So
40 feet, sorry.
how do the cost of these compare to just plain construction, square foot wise?
I mean, you can buy a container anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000. I mean, you've got a 20 by 8 space already built out, basically. I mean, framed out. I mean, we're going a little bit above and beyond because, you know, of course, inside we want to look incredible, and we'll probably, you know, for that first one, for sure, we'll put two together, you know, so.
Well, that's kind of where my mind went, okay? If it's that much cheaper square foot wise, let's say somebody at that's zoned C2 or C1 or whatever, says, I can put 10 of these together and come up with 1,600 square feet or blah, blah. Is that where we want to go? To
It's
have
not where I wanna go.
have these container buildings?
So she's saying that the International Building Code won't allow that.
There's certain like weights and combinations that you can do and that they say you can't do. And so I think that we need to reflect on that a little bit to see.
I mean,
Can you get that information to either me or somebody so I can look at that
Yeah.
and kind of
We've got that, we'll get that too.
Yep.
analyze
I know
that?
they've done research, so 2021 was when it got a 97% positive vote. And they worked on it for a long time to look at research and, you know, to make sure the safety protocols were there. So,
I mean, that's stronger than any pole barn building.
I agree.
We have built
Yeah,
here
I mean,
in
it's-
Marion right now.
It's a tornado shelter is what it is.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And that's fine. But I don't want anybody to circumvent the system and say, well, heck, I'm just going to buy 10 of them and I'm going to put them all together and, you know, have one big building and it's going to be a heck of a lot cheaper than building something.
Yeah,
That's where we as a
I understand that.
Could look at that individual
Yeah,
project. and say,
exactly.
No.
And that's where we need to be involved to say yes or no. Because I think it'd work perfect there, perfect. And sections of town like that would be perfect. But to say, you know, somebody is gonna buy a lot next door to Walmart and put 10 of these together and make a bill, I
I
don't
mean,
think
it's
so.
really becoming popular. I mean, that's really, I mean, they make these things look incredible. Like, if you look up container storefronts, I mean, online, I mean, there are some people that have, you know, 6 to 7 of those things, but I'm sure they had to have an engineer design them.
Sure.
I mean, it had to be done proper, so. The only thing I get what you're saying. You don't want people popping these things up anywhere, but
Right.
if they can pop these things up anywhere and they look incredible, and they're safe, I mean, I get what you're saying, though. You don't want them everywhere in town. And that's why I think, like you guys were suggesting, if we kept it too commercial, and the zone, and you guys had to approve it, if you didn't like an area that they were gonna put that in, then, of course, I guess that would be the hiccup there, but
I call these, or I have in the past, referred to these as pop-up retail shops. Is that a thing? Did I come up with that term, or out of thin air?
Pop-up's it's like a temporary storefront.
Okay, so that's not the right name.
right, yeah, because these, yeah.
Well, I was thinking along the line, how
Larger.
could we define it in the ordinance to,
I found 3 model ordinances already today. We can get through all that.
okay,
Perfect.
okay. Process for him to rezone to C1?
He and I have talked about that.
Okay. I think that's the first step you ought to do,
Okay.
and then we'll probably have to discuss this again and we'll email back and forth to the commissioners some sample
I
ordinance
mean, we
language.
could always stick build these things, man, but to be honest, I mean, if you got people coming in town that want to experience something different, this is going to be probably one of the coolest places in town to come,
I think you're probably right.
regardless of whatever neighborhood it's in. I mean, you just don't see this everywhere. And so, when people come in town, they visit, they rent an Airbnb, they want a place to come hang out and, have a good time outside, an indoor, outdoor type of climate, they're going to want to come to a place that they've never been to before, see some
So-
things they've never seen before. And I think that we can
Make
deliver
sure I
that.
got this right. You're gonna serve ice cream, give haircuts, and cook burgers?
We're
You
gonna, no. So that's our thing is that we'd be real selective on what business we decide
Yeah.
to bring in there. It wouldn't be, somebody couldn't just pop up and say, hey, I want to make burgers. And we just say, okay, we got a spot for you. Like, they need to be proven. Like, we'll try their food, of course,
Yeah.
because I like to eat.
Yeah.
And, I mean, hopefully there'll be a lot of different business there. I mean, if we could get, 6 to 8 storefronts, in that little spot, I think that it would be really cool. I mean, she's talking about doing a bathhouse, just a little spa house where, people can come, ladies can come and,
Gentlemen, too.
and gentlemen too, but ladies.
Yeah.
But either way, she's talking about doing a little bathhouse. So, I mean, we have a lot of different business ideas. I think that we would just choose wisely which ones we put there. And it would be a gradual build.
Okay, you need to start your process for rezoning that, and then I'm gonna have to ask for your patience while we work through a couple of these details, and, so that you can do what you're wanting to do.
Okay, thank you so
Okay.
much. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks,
being here.
guys.
Thanks for your time.
Okay, one last call. Anybody else want to speak to the council? Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have items A through G as part of the consent agenda tonight. Anybody from the council want any item or sub-item A through G removed and voted upon separately? Anybody from the audience want any of these items voted upon separately? Okay, hearing no objection to including all items in the consent agenda, I would entertain a motion to pass it as presumed.
I make a motion to approve consent agenda items 4A through G as written.
I'll second. Okay, any discussion on any of these items or sub-items? Cody, do you know on item E1, we got this as a correction, I forgot to ask, what was the technical correction on this?
I know that. So when it went to county to be filed, the original one, Janice had contacted Steve to let him know that the amount on that one was not correct.
Okay.
So this one, this is the corrected one that reflects the correct amount.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Patton?
Yay.
Commissioner Barwick?
Yay.
Commissioner Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Steckland?
Yay.
Mayor Absher?
Yay. All right, moving on to new business, under item 5 in Public Works, we've got 2 contracts for engineering services to consider, one for water improvements, one for sewer improvements respectively, and in that order, relative to the contract work we're doing on behalf of Crab Orchard Wildlife Refuge and the upgrade to their sewer and water departments. You've got them in your packets. Brent's here if you want to ask any questions. If you don't have any questions, can we do both of these at the same time, read them as one?
I would think so.
It's up to whoever wants to read it, but I think we could probably read both at
We do
the
as
same
one?
time as one motion.
Okay, I make a motion then that we approve the agreement for engineering services with Clarendon Ziegler Engineering Company for the refuge water and sewer improvements.
I'll second.
Just a matter of clarification, those are 2 separate contracts. Okay, any questions, especially while Brent's here?
Did they give you any timeline? What are they- what are they-
Actually, after this is approved tonight, we're having our kickoff meeting tomorrow at Brian's office. He's got a timeline set to present to the refuge tomorrow, so.
I didn't know what they were looking at.
The whole thing's 3 years, and you signed the refuge,
Okay.
so we kind of
Yeah.
got milestones and all that.
Yeah, it's a multi-year process. The first year basically will be this engineering, and then the construction will start after that. So,
Okay.
So that sewer will come back to Marion, whereas now it goes to the prison, or?
Actually, we're already taking the sewer. We
Okay.
own and operate the lift stations and all the force mains coming back into Marion.
Okay.
Going forward, we're going to rehab all those lift stations to bring them up to new and rehab all the gravity sanitary sewer in the refuge in that area
Okay.
and take over that also. And then the water side is just a complete takeover of that water system
Okay.
that they have out there currently.
Yes.
Okay, we had a motion and a second. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Patton?
Yay.
Commissioner Barwick? Commissioner Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Steckman?
Yay.
Mayor Absher?
Yay. Thank you. Item 6, Building and Code Services. We've referred to this several times already tonight, relative to the International Building Code. One question I have, I noticed the Franks mentioned the 2020 or 21 code, I think, on those shipping containers, just because it's fresh of mind. This is, we're updating to 2018.
Yeah, so the International Building Code originally referenced shipping containers in the 2019 version, which is an update of the 2018. They provide updates every 3 years, basically. So the 2018 code includes updates made in 2019 and 2020. The 21 code would encompass all 3 years of those updates, plus anything new that's been adopted. So based on the little research that I was able to do today on the shipping container issue, the 21 code fully encompasses the shipping container issue, but there are references to it in the 19 and 20 code, and that's what Wendy and I were just discussing. Any change that we make to that shipping container ordinance, we could account for the 21 language of the code, and one of the model ordinances I saw today did just that. So they were on a previous version, of the 21 code, but adopted building requirements for shipping containers based on the 21 code. So we can get creative with that.
Okay. Obviously, that's not the only thing in this. That was top of mind because we just got done discussing that.
Again, we're updating basically 10 years on this code, or a total of 3 or 4 different versions of code, and this is pretty typical. Realistically, we probably should have done it 6 years ago. I would say every 3 to 6 years, we should be on a cycle of updating codes. Realistically, every 6 years would probably be good. So this is a little overdue, but there's no provisions in here that are fundamentally different than what we have in place in the current code that we enforce.
Okay, gentlemen, one of you want to make a motion, please?
That being said, I would make a motion to approve ordinance 3772 repealing the 2009 International Building Code and adopting the 2018 International Building Code.
I would second that.
Okay, any other questions or comments on this? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Patton?
Yay.
Commissioner Barwick?
Yay.
Commissioner Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Stefan?
Yay.
Mayor Absher?
Yay. Item 6B, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I can. So this was a rezoning application from Chico Castellano on a property he has purchased, which I believe is referred to as South Lake Drive. If you recall, if you've been down Wildcat Road lately, there used to be some brick structures entering a subdivision that never existed. That is the area that he's requesting rezoned, and I believe he's got a plat there for 5 separate properties. So this rezoning application was to zone that from the current agricultural zone to an R1 single-family residential. And like I said, he's got a plan to build 5 separate houses in that little inlet.
When those pillars were put up, they were going to build a house in that area, and then from my understanding, they were denied. I don't know if an ordinance or resolution was passed that would not allow them access to Wildcat Drive. Do we know if that exists?
First I've heard of that. I'm not aware of anything, but I'll research it and see.
I think it was Jim Reichert that had those put up. He was going to build a house in there.
If it's the one I'm thinking of, they were trying to do an easement to access a couple of lots, and the council at that time didn't like the idea of an easement. There was something, I don't know details, but there was
Okay.
something between easement versus a public road.
Yeah.
I think that was that property.
I couldn't remember the details. All I know, one of the reasoning for it, or what was told to me, was because of the excess traffic coming in and out with the congestion already with the school and then the entrance to the other subdivision. So I don't know if that point is when they extended the road off of Eugene Lane that went back in to that newest subdivision that was developed on the east end of that lake, instead of coming off of Wildcat.
I'll research it and see if there's something, if you would consider that, and if we need to repeal something that may be in place, I'll look into that for next meeting, but I'm not aware of anything that we have on the books, because that's been several years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, those pillars have been, or those entryway structures have been up quite a while.
Yeah.
Well, it could be a future meeting, but he's proposing the full cul-de-sac there, so you
Right.
would have.
Yeah, we'll still have to accept the plat and do all that as well, so.
And I guess that was going to be my question, Brian. Do you see an issue with the existing entrance into the big parking lot there on the east side of the high school and this being a conflict with one another? I mean, personally, I don't.
No.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, the entrance to that parking lot is further east
I think it is too.
than what this cul-de-sac is going to be. So I think either way, I think it would be fine.
You know, there's already an entrance off of Wildcat into that subdivision. So at the time, whenever it was denied, I questioned, why is it any different to have a drive going into that versus, you know, so I
I
don't know.
mean, we're only talking, what, 5 lots here?
Yeah.
Isn't part of that, is that in the floodplain, a lot of that property?
There's one backyard.
Yeah,
The
we're
east.
working with them there. It comes into one of the backyards. but
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything would be, all the
On the-
dogs would be out of it.
On the east side. I think lot 4 maybe.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to affirm the zoning board's recommendation to approve the zoning change to PIN 0625-100-019 from RA to R1 Single Family Residential.
I'd second that.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Patton?
Yay.
Commissioner Barwick?
Yay?
Commissioner Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Stecklin?
Yay.
Mayor Absher?
Yay. Item 7A, we had a contingent of residents on Market Street that asked for a four-way stop. I did have a question.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead. You had
Well,
something to say.
I'll be brief. So, one of our previous meetings spawned a group, kind of South and North Market improvement group, and one of the recommendations that came out of that group was that we put a some sort of a traffic slowing measure into place on North Market between Boulevard and Market. I'm sorry, between Boulevard and DeYoung. So the map that I provided you, I tried to put a red box on the intersection I was talking about, if you can see that. But obviously, it's not exactly halfway. So we will see as kind of a temporary initiative if this is going to work or not. I talked to Doug Phillips today. If it does pass, he's going to put up the red flashing stop signs on north and southbound to alert motorists of the new stop sign there. Terrence can probably speak to this as well. He lives right there. But the goal ultimately is to slow people down. We're always adverse to speed bumps and other types of road modifications, so this seems to be the least evasive, albeit there is still a fairly good run between Stockton and DeYoung, so it'll remain to see if that does ultimately slow traffic down.
Did we send letters?
We did. We sent letters to, I
site?
sent a letter to everyone that lived between Boulevard and DeYoung. I heard from 4 residents, 3 were in favor, 1 was opposed.
And what was the opposition reasoning?
Didn't think it would slow traffic down. And they actually accessed Market off of Stockton, so they have to stop anyway, so.
Chief, are you aware of many calls that we've had to that area or any accidents at that intersection?
We had an accident, probably maybe about a month ago. That guy flew down there and hit the fire hydrant.
What's the street commissioner's opinion?
Well, it's, typically on the intersection, you put stop signs up if you've got equal flow in all 4 lanes.
Yeah.
If you've got predominant flow in one leg, it doesn't really warrant. But I know in a city situation, home rule, we could probably put them where we think we need them,
Well,
In the county, we probably wouldn't allow that just because it's a predominant
Yeah.
traffic flow.
and that's one of the first things, or one of the two points I thought. East-west, probably not a lot of traffic going across Market. North and south, yes, absolutely. The other thing I thought of, it's kind of a short distance between Stockton and Boulevard. I understand that, sometimes people get up some speed either from Boulevard to DeYoung or DeYoung to Boulevard.
Have you driven between DeYoung and Hardee's on Carbon? You have 3 stoplights.
Yeah. I don't know. Guess we could try
I do
to
what you
see.
mean.
I feel like, personally, people come off of DeYoung and they feel like there's just a straight shot and they can go.
Yeah.
And by the time they end up at the square, it's 40
They
miles.
missed the Boulevard stop
Yeah,
sign altogether, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, I get all the points, but I personally feel like this is needed.
Well, the residents that live along there that have children are absolutely scared. I mean, that's, of the 3 or 4 that were in favor of this, they're up for trying anything, and most of them want speed bumps, and I know that's something that we've got a lot of complaints on in the past for noise and those sorts of things, even right there on that street, mind you, when we were having issues with it, et cetera, and folks running into et cetera off of Market. But unless there's an alternative plan, this seems to be, while it seems evasive, this seems to be the least evasive plan, at least as a try.
I'd make a motion that we would approve ordinance 3774, authorizing installation of a 4-way stop at the intersection of North Market and Stockton at the request of nearby residents.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Patton?
Yay.
Commissioner Barwick?
Yay.
Commissioner Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Steckland?
Yay.
Mayor Absher?
Yay. Item 7B, it's all part of that
Yeah,
same.
same thing. Next part of that South Lake development.
Okay, this has to do, again, with Mr. Castellano's little tuck-in development there, so I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 3779, a petition to vacate Lot 1 Lake Park Estates revised subdivision.
Second that.
Questions? Roll roll call, please.
Commissioner Patton?
Yay.
Commissioner Barwick?
Yay?
Commissioner Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Steckland?
Yay.
Mayor Absher?
Yay. 7C, it's been some time since Glenn talked about this. This has literally been at least a year and a half or more in the works. You guys can picture Fifth Street as it heads southbound to West Main. It comes at kind of a, I don't know, that's about a 30-degree angle maybe, something like that. It's kind of tough angle, not wide enough, and that's coincidentally also the bus garage is back on that road. And it's been a target for improvement for a long time. We did some initial design work originally. Part of this project, I say part of it, originally we had budgeted for it to be done this year. Not only did that not happen because of time, but unfortunately, because we didn't get on it soon enough, I think the budget is ultimately going to go up from what we originally counted for. But this is all going to be budgeted for in the next budget year, regardless. So this is just getting started with the contract award. So that we've got when would the work actually start? I don't think we'll make.
So that leg there, because we're bending that from the alley that's run behind Dairy Queen, somewhere north to south, we told them they can shut that down for 30 days. I checked with the bus people, and they said that's fine. During that summer, we'll bring them around off 4th Street or
Yeah.
the side road, I think it was. But, so yeah, June 1 is when they said in the summer they can shut it down, not during school. So
Okay.
we're probably gonna hold off, order the materials for the lights, which is where a lot of the cost is going
Yeah.
up, and then do it in the summer.
Any particular reason that the lights, I'm more surprised, I guess, not that so much the lights, it's just that that we really didn't see an expansion of cost on some of the other inputs, other materials, and
Most of the things still are just your rock, your cement, local stuff like that. The lights are all electrical components.
it's more the same with everything
I'm
else.
sure it's not the same chip as a car, but I don't know, that's kind of beyond me too. But anything that you have to have manufactured and delivered, including pipe, is a
Yeah.
problem. The rest of the job is just local material.
Okay. It's been a while since we talked about this project, but like I said, it's been kind of on the drawing board for a long time. You guys have any discussion? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the contract award for signalizing Fifth Street and Main Street intersection.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Patton?
Yay.
Commissioner Barwick?
Yay?
Commissioner Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Steckland?
Yay.
Mayor Absher?
Yay. Item 7D is an ordinance for a residential TIF 1 redevelopment agreement. All three of these are with the same developer, two different TIFs, all three, D, E, and F anyway. What are these, Cody? exactly?
These are new home construction,
Okay,
very similar to his project down here on Warder Street, that old church property that was demolished. I think he put up 4 or 5 homes there.
Okay.
Same thing, these aren't big elaborate homes, these are $120,000 price point, about 1,000, 1,200 square feet homes. Does a nice job with them, usually sells them before he gets them done. So these costs aren't elaborate either, based on the fact that they're new construction, there's not a whole lot of cost to claim here. So fairly routine, and if it's so your motion, I think you could approve all 3 with the same motion if you wanted to.
So this can be read as one?
yeah.
All right, I'd make a motion to approve ordinance 3775, authorizing a residential TIF 1 with Bryn Lane Properties at 1006 South Mechanic, as well as, will this become one ordinance then, or 3 separate? Still 3 separate? Okay, as well as ordinance 3776 for the same thing, property at 407 East Jackson, and ordinance 3777 for property at 412 East Jefferson.
I would second that.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Patton?
Yay.
Commissioner Barwick?
Yay?
Commissioner Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Steckland?
Yay.
Mayor Absher?
Yay. Item 8A is, I want to give some kudos to Jennifer Olson, who's not here, our new Director of Business Development. She came up with this idea, and then with Wendy and code enforcement, kind of researched it and fine-tuned it a little bit. What I don't know, if we ever had a list put together of qualifying properties yet, we're still kind of wading through that. I don't think right now we're going to have tons of these that necessarily qualify, but the idea here is pretty simple. If we own a piece of property that is adjacent to somebody else's property, and they're willing to take it over, mow it, pay the taxes, get it back on the tax rolls, maintain it to our standards, then, there's a $100 fee, if I understand this right, but ultimately, after a certain period of performance on that, not only do we not have to mow this property, but then they own the property. So, pretty simple, straightforward. We lifted it, I'm sure, to some extent off some other cities' program, but she really kind of helped figure it out, and give her a lot of kudos for that. And that would be my motion to approve ordinance 3771, Mow to Own Ordinance.
I'd second that. Yeah.
Any questions, concerns on this? Guess we'll find out when somebody raises their hand. But, roll call, please.
Commissioner Patton?
Yay.
Commissioner Barwick?
Yay?
Commissioner Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Steckland?
Yay.
Mayor Absher?
Yay. Item 8B.
Okay, so, design of the new City Hall building is going well. Design and build-out at this point is going well. One snag we have had was on the modular elevator system that we had originally designed and implemented in the plans and original bid. This action item in front of you would remedy or begin to remedy that snag in redesigning the elevator to basically a non-modular, more traditional system, which is ultimately what we're going to have to do. So there were some union issues with the way that modular elevator system was going to be implemented. Did not meet the standards of our PLA, and so this, again, would remedy that, going to a more traditional system, and would get the union, the elevators union on board with that as well. So this is the design element. We will later have a change order with the actual construction changes as well, which will be an increase.
This is the one, or hopefully first and last, but unpleasant surprise that's come up as part of this project. I kind of anticipated finding stuff or not finding stuff when we started taking stuff down. This issue was not able to be resolved with the union labor. So
Ultimately, this system was a $183,000 modular elevator that they would have built off-site, brought down here from Mount Vernon, which is where the company was, and with a very large crane, they would have dropped it in to the bank building, or to the new City Hall. Any contracts over $150,000 are subject to union labor per the PLA that the city has in place. Oversight on our part ultimately, so a more traditional system is what we're going to have to go with.
Does this force us, and this may not be a question we can answer right now, does this force us into a maintenance agreement with elevator company A, B, or C, or whoever it is?
Not proprietarily, but we would have had that anyway. We would have had to bid that out later, basically, some sort of an agreement. We have a couple around town. Civic Center is the one that comes to mind. Market Street Hall, the Hub, I presume, would also have. Those three library, those four facilities all have active maintenance agreements. I believe with Otis, I believe we have kind of a citywide contract. But of course, that'll come to term at some point. We'll rebid that process as well.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make the motion to approve Amendment 1 Amendment 1 to the design agreement with White and Borgononi Architects for elevator redesign for City Hall project not to exceed $28,200.
I would second that.
Okay, any more questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Patton?
Yay.
Commissioner Barwick?
Yay.
Commissioner Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Steckland?
Yay.
Mayor Absher?
Yay. Item 8C is the ordinance approving the land swap, which we had a hearing just immediately preceding our regular meeting here tonight, beginning of it. And as Wendy explained so much more eloquently than I did, we have to find through that hearing process and through this ordinance certain stipulations that it meets the public interest for swapping land. And so that's this ordinance that does that. And I think, Doug, you need to make a,
Yeah, I will make a motion to approve the ordinance 3773, authorizing an exchange of real estate subject to the review of the legal description.
Second that.
any questions on this?
Maybe I should say another review of the legal description.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Patton?
Yay.
Commissioner Barwick?
Yay.
Commissioner Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Steckland?
Yay.
Mayor Absher?
Yay. Terrence, tell us all about multi-factor authentication policy.
I'll jump in on that real quick. So,
Okay.
we, this last fall, started the process of renewing our cyber insurance and quickly found that no cyber insurer would insure us without some sort of multi-factor authentication policy like this. So since then, we've invested in some hardware that Terrence and his team are currently deploying, as well as some training to staff that would be in hotspot areas, I guess I'll call it, areas that might be subject to some sort of a breach or someone gaining access to our network. And so this policy would regulate, again, that multi-factor system, but it also gets us into compliance and allows us to be covered by such insurers, which is becoming a very hot industry at this point, cyber insurance and the need for such. If you want to add anything.
I would make a motion to approve the multi-factor authentication policy. Mouthful.
Second that. Okay.
Easy for you to say. So in reality, we could implement this without having to have a policy to implement it. We just implementing a policy to prove to the insurance company that we're doing it.
Yes, and this doesn't affect anyone but our employees, so.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. That's a good phone call. Okay, any questions from Cody or Terrence on that? It's getting late. Did we make a motion? Did we not make?
We have a motion and second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Patton?
Yay.
Commissioner Barwick?
Yay.
Commissioner Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Steckland?
Yay.
Mayor Absher?
Yay. Item 8E, we sent out through email and then talked to you guys individually about this issue that cropped up. We basically had kind of a flurry of sign permits applied for what we're going to call off-premises. We're not going to call it, they are called off-premises advertising signs. So think about this as a business model where somebody goes and leases a piece of chunk of your land and puts a sign on it with interchangeable advertising, whether that's digital or regular vinyl signs that go up that they basically rent out. So after discussing it with each of you individually, we need to study this more and figure out before we get overrun with these exactly what the right, what you all think is right for the city. So in the meantime, kind of the consensus was when, we haven't discussed it together, but when we discussed it one-on-one with you, is that we just put a temporary moratorium on these until we can study this some more. And I know Commissioner Steckland specifically offered to kind of be on a little study group or committee, if you want to call it that. If one of the other of you would kind of join him in that effort, that would be greatly appreciated, but I'll let you guys determine that on your own. But that's really what this is about, is just basically putting a stay on this until we can figure out what the best thing is for Marion. moving forward. And that's my motion to approve ordinance 3778, enacting a moratorium on outdoor off-premises advertising signs.
I would second that.
Now, to be very clear, I want to, for public consumption, this has nothing to do with any business owner that wants to erect a sign to advertise their business on their property. This is for somebody who wants to lease space, whether that's in a field or on somebody else's business or home for that matter, and erect a sign that's in the business of advertising on the sign. So it has nothing to do if somebody has a ice cream shop and they want to advertise ice cream on their own premise. So, okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Patton?
Yay?
Commissioner Barwick?
Yay.
Commissioner Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Steckland?
Yay.
Mayor Absher?
Yay. Commissioner reports. Jim, you want to start us off?
Yeah, on the streets, we are still working on some sidewalks. We've got projects on East Main and Monroe Streets that we're finishing up. We're just doing some general tile work and drainage work. And, of course, we're helping out with tearing down the houses over in the Midway Court area. So, cemetery, we had 13 burials in the month of January. So, with that, that's my report.
John?
Our water department had 8 new service taps, 10 leaks were repaired, 7 services were renewed and updated. It's been kind of a quiet month as well. Wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day today. Trivia will be next meeting. I do want to point out, down at Boynton Street, we've got the 12th annual after-school All-Star Chili Supper, which is Saturday, February 26th from 3 to 5. $7, get you a bowl of chili, hot dog, and a drink. Dine-in, curbside available, and go support our after-school All-Stars there. And correct me if I'm wrong, but high school dance team, is that right? But
Yeah.
congratulations to them.
Last night.
So, congratulations to both those teams. So, that's all I got.
Mr. Barwick?
From the fire department, we had 9 100 series fire calls. We had 7 300 series rescue and EMS calls, 13 hazardous conditions with no fire, 11 500 series service call, 7 good intent calls, 28 activated alarms for a total of 75. We had 24 annual safety inspections that were conducted, and during the month, we used 720 gallons of water. Marion Police Department, city ordinance violations for the month of January were 161, 46 warrant arrests, 372 incidents reported, 141 traffic accidents, and 5 DUIs. During the month of January, there were 5,208 dispatched calls, 1,883 911 calls, and 261 ambulance calls. The Marion Detective Unit had a total of 37 cases. I'll highlight the major ones: 5 burglary, 4 death investigations, 3 forgery, 6 theft, and 3 vehicle burglaries. Marion Narcotics Unit, total of 74 cases initiated. There were 110 citations issued, 54 arrests, 20 warrant arrests. 36.4 pounds of cannabis was seized, 13.8 grams of methamphetamine, 3.1 grams of cocaine, 8 grams of a controlled substance, 4.8 grams of mushrooms, 6.6 grams of MDMA, 6 controlled drug purchases, 2 search warrants, 1 vehicle seizure, and 1 firearm seizure. And that's all I've got.
Okay, Doug?
One thing I've got, Mayor, is I'd ask the different offices around City Hall to be patient with the Treasurer's Office. We're 1 person down right now and in the process of trying to find someone, interviewing people to fill that position, so it might take us a little bit longer to get to everything, but please be patient with us.
Okay. I don't have a report from my departments tonight. Anything else to come before the council under miscellaneous? I do not have, but does anybody else have a need for a closed or executive session tonight? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Sure, what is it?
The essay.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about it.
It's okay. No worries. Here you go, Commissioner of Entertainment.
That's right with me. Okay, so this is Connect 360 presents Black History Essay Contest. So you submit the essays on or before, today. So they got to write them quick.
Yeah, but we might extend it depending on.
Maybe extended. Okay. Winners will be announced at Boynton Street Community Center on 2/24/22 at 6:30 p.m. Entry must be at least 500 words long. It can be written on a computer or by hand, and email the essay to info@connect360life. Is that right? I think it's cut off, but I think that's okay. And it's for grades 4 through 12. All schools in Southern Illinois are invited to participate. So get your essay in quickly.
And all of the subject matters on there are all the Black history from Southern Illinois. The first one is NASA lady. She is from Payne.
Oh, yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Dorothy Vaughn.
It just.
Oh, I see. I missed this.
Know that we have heroes here
I got you. Okay, I missed that.
of national importance.
Dorothy Vaughn, James Henry Lewis, Annie Turnbow Malone, Reverend Dr. Archibald Mosley, Phyllis May Daly, Charles Cohen, and Ronald Burris.
You know, because they all came from Southern Illinois.
Gotcha.
A lot of people don't know that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, anything else to come before the council? Now I'd entertain a motion to
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Patton?
Yay.
Commissioner Barwick?
Yay.
Commissioner Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Steckland?
Yay.
Mayor Asher?
Okay, thank you all for coming.